Hello, welcome back to Cracking the Cryptic, and look at this graphic. It is just fantastic. This is a piece of art created by the constructor Dali, who's featured once on the channel before, but helped with the art, I think, by his friend Andrew Turner. I wonder if Andrew Turner's middle initial is an R, making his initials ART. Anyway, this Turner is a work of art. It is a depiction of the CTC Country Club. So obviously obviously if you've seen this sort of thing before, a golf course and scorecard, as you might get, a 9-hole golf course today. And we can't actually play the grid in this form. I've got a simpler version of it to play, but let's enjoy it. Actually, if you are a golfer, Simon, of course, is an absolute brilliant golfer, and I am a terrible hack, but I do like the game. If you're a golfer, you would study this and go, not very realistic layout for some of the holes, like 3, 5, and 8. I mean, frankly, quite a lot of them. But it is still very pretty. It does resemble a golf club scorecard, and you've got the CTC logo, a version of it there, and the clubhouse. It looks like a very nice course. Anyway, we will get to the rules in a minute, which are a little bit complicated and daunting, but that's just going to make it more fun. First of all, I'm going to tell you, obviously, about things around the channel. 1st of September, the launch date for Back to the Future by Blobs, a brilliant Sudoku hunt that's going to be our Patreon September monthly reward. And do give it a try. It's brilliant. I've tried the puzzles, I love them, and I'm really looking forward to your reaction to them. Other things on Patreon now, we are launching the Simon's, Simon Solve of Listen by Eck from the Listener, an absolutely staggering listener crossword that has just reached its deadline so we can publish it, and it's really interesting. If you're on Patreon and you're interested in the cryptic clues, it'll be mainly cryptic clue solving through today and tomorrow and hours of it. And then we get to the end game of that puzzle by about Friday, and it's fantastic. It's just extraordinary. Patreon, of course, is the site for our extra crossword and connections content, as well as those monthly rewards and solution videos, which have started to go up for last month, so check it out. You can get to Sven's Sudoku Pad on the links under the video, and also our apps, which do feature line Sudoku, and of course Fog of War and the Worms. But it is time to look at the rules of CTC Country Club by Dali, and the playable version, of course, of the puzzle is here now. So what we are looking at here goes as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So 1 to 9 will go in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. We don't actually have to do 1 to 9 in row 8 because as of the scorecard, they've been imported for us. Now, the puzzle employs 4 different line constraints, which I am about to explain. Each line, of course this is each golf hole from the scorecard, each line respects exactly 1 or 2 of these constraints, and each possible combination is represented exactly once. Now the constraints are as follows. Renban, which means that the line contains a set of consecutive digits in any order. German whispers, by which adjacent digits along a line must have a difference of at least 5. Thermometers, digits rise or ascend along the line from the bulb end. The bulb may be in any position along the line, which may therefore branch. The solver must locate the position of the bulb. And arrows, the digits along the line sum to the total in a circle. The circle may be in any position along the line, which may therefore branch, and the solver must locate the position of the circle. There is a white dot, which is a golf ball in the original grid, brilliantly. A white dot separates cells containing consecutive digits. That's in these two. Those are the rules. So let me just recap. The lines each represent exactly one or two of those constraints, and each possible combination is represented exactly once. I'm going to start now. I mean, I think this is going to take some figuring out, so this is probably going to be a long video, but I'm going to start now. Let's get cracking. Although we don't often get given a whole row of digits, that really only helps in that row. I mean, it doesn't do much else. And then elsewhere, of course, each whole number is given. So there's only one each apart from this row of the digits. There's not a lot of Sudoku we can do straight away. I am puzzled by the line constraints thing. It says in the rules that each line represents exactly one or two of the constraints. But I would have thought that with 4 constraints, don't you have 10 possible dual combinations? I thought if you had a World Cup round robin group of 4 teams, don't they have to play 10 matches? No, they don't, actually. They play 6 matches. Oh, okay. I've got my combinations and permutations maths wrong there. I mean, I'm still troubled. I'm still troubled. I think, let's call these line constraints by their letters, their first letters. So I'm just going to write them down here. We've got R for Renban, G for German Whisper, T for Thermometer, and A for Arrow. Now, I thought there were 10 combinations of pairs of these, but actually I think there are 6. RG, RT, RA, that's 3, then GA, GT, and we're up to 5, and TA. There are 6 combinations. And if you consider that using just one of these constraints is a further combination, then I think there are 10 possible combinations. And this is allowing the word combination to mean having just one version. Now, there are 9 lines. How does that work if there are 10 possible combinations? It could mean that one combination is impossible and can be ignored. Sometimes in these puzzles, figuring out the rules and what you have to interpret them to mean is part of the puzzle, and I think this is one of those. It could mean that, or it could mean that the pairs, the 6 possible pairs, all feature once each. And the other 3 lines are just singles, and they might not even be different. They might be 3 of the same. We do have to try and interpret what this means. Do we have to do some thinking about the lines? Maybe the lines as they appear in the grid. No, I think... Right. It is up to me to take the 6 combinations. Let's put them here. So RG, T, and A. So RG is one combination. RA, RT. Let's think about them individually. Because if we can eliminate one of these, then I do understand the rules probably. So those are the 6 combinations. RG, RA, RT, GA, GT, AT. Now what do they mean? Renban and German Whisper. Oh. Right. The general situation is really complicated by the fact that the the bulbs on the thermometers and the circles on the arrows can be in the middle of the lines somewhere, and the lines therefore branch. Because that makes a lot more things possible than were possible without that. However, with Renban and with German Whisper, that is not an issue. There is no division of the line into two separate lines. And actually, I think we've immediately hit on a pair that cannot be done together. Am I right about this? If you had a Renban line, no, let's start with German Whisper. If you had a German Whisper line of any length, now the things I normally tell you about German Whisper lines are there are no 5s on it. Therefore the digits alternate between digits higher than 5 and lower than 5, and then something about the difficulty of placing 6s and 4s. Let's forget that for the moment. There are no 5s on a German Whisper line. The digits alternate between high and low. So even a 2-cell line, and no matter how long you make the line, is never going to link the Renban set that includes a high digit, even if it's 6, and a low digit, even if it's 4, because the line can never have a 5 on it. So I think we have immediately found a line that is impossible. So I'm going to delete, and that's good. That is really good, because the equation between 10 possible lines and 9 lines appearing in the puzzle needed a little adjustment like that to make it work. Now, what's worrying me is that as we consider all the other combinations, we might find another impossible combo. But let's think about it. So Renban and an arrow, well, that's fine. A 1, 2, 3 arrow could have 3 in the circle and 1 and 2, and that line would be a Renban. So it's certainly possible for that to exist. Renban and thermometer, that's fine. A Renban line could be ordered, any length of Renban line could be ordered from highest to lowest and form a thermometer. That's easily done, almost too easily. There may be no help for us. Okay, German Whisper, which was the real problem the first time. German Whisper and arrow. Now, how could that work? You're alternating between high and low. Yeah, I mean, 7, 1, 6 would be a line that obeyed German Whisper rules with the differences along it, and could immediately be formed into an arrow. Actually, while we're doing this, thinking about this, let's think about, this seems a much more limited set of lines that obey German Whisper and arrow than, for instance, Renban and Thermo. Renban and arrow didn't seem, well, I thought of 1, 2, 3 and stopped thinking about it after that. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could have a 5 in the middle of a 1, 4 pair and a 2, 3 pair. Does the Renban series that has the arrow have to have a 1 in it? That's a new theory. If you had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, you can't make up an arrow out of that stuff. So what about 2, 3, 4? No, there's no possible arrow. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's interesting. Okay, we'll come back to that because that is quite limited. And my new theory is probably that you have to have a 1 in the Renban series that has an arrow on. But it is possible. Renban and Thermo easily done, far too easily. Right, German Whisper and arrow. We've thought of a 3-cell line that would work. I suppose there's obviously a 5-cell line that would go 6, 1, 7 in the circle, 1, 6. I think it's difficult. I think that's a difficult combination. Right, I'm moving on. German Whisper and thermometer. Oh. No, well that's very interesting. German whisper and thermometer, the differences between every two cells have to be at least 5. So for a 3-cell line, you're either going high, low, high, which could work with a bulb in the middle going to both branches. Or in a 3-cell line, you might go low, high, low, but that doesn't work because sorry, I know I'm doing this in my head, but just imagine 283 as a German whisper line. You can't turn this into a thermo because if you started with a bulb at the 2, you'd have to go through the 8 to get to the 3, and that wouldn't be a thermo anymore. You're not allowed to have 2 bulbs. That wasn't mentioned. There's a single bulb that can branch. I don't think that a German whisper, and I think a German whisper and thermo line can exist, and I don't think it can be 4 cells long. Because you're going to run into the problem, after the bulb and a high digit, you're going to bump into a low in one direction. Okay, that is a strong theory, that, because I think there's only one 3-cell line. Right, that is where we're going to start in a moment. I've got to think briefly about arrows and thermo and whether they can combine. And bear in mind, they could be branching lines in either case. Well, I mean, again, 1, 2, 3 is a perfectly valid thermo in one direction and arrow sort of in the other. So it certainly can exist. Okay, so we've satisfied. I mean, I suspect there are lots of ways of doing arrow and thermo because of the variability of the branching lines. Yeah, I think there are. I'm not sure about that. I am sure what we've proved is that all these 5 lines can exist. And I think it is perfectly reasonable then to say that the 9 lines in this puzzle are an arrow line only that can't be a Renban German whisper or thermo, a Renban line only that can't be the others, a German whisper line only that can't be the others, a thermo only that can't be the others. One line that is both Renban and arrow and not thermo and German whisper, one that is Renban and thermo, one that is German whisper and arrow, one that is German whisper and thermo, one that is arrow and thermo. Okay, what I'm going to do is transfer these down here because we may need an aide-memoire to pick them off. So let's do it in some sort of logical order. A-G-R-T, A-G, A-R-A-T, G-R, what did I miss? Which one can't we have? We can't have AG, sorry. That's what I just spent all this time proving. Where are we? 13 minutes in. I haven't actually considered a number in the grid yet. I've just been doing theory. Oh, it's mad, isn't it? GR, GT, and RT. These are the 9 line combinations that we're allowed. And I'm putting them down here because I suspect that this part of the grid is not where I'm going to be making pencil marks about the numbers very often. Now, if my theory was right, and I'm really confident about it, this line, the only 3-cell hole or line in the grid, and happily it's got a low digit in the middle, is going to be the German whisper and thermo combination, this one. Because that is the bulb, if you like. Let me just get the pen tool on as well. This is going to be the thermo bulb with thermo lines going out from it in both directions. And these numbers are going to be higher. They're going to be, well, 7, 8, or 9. It doesn't really annoyingly matter which. And then that is fulfilled as... Okay, interesting. There is one little wrinkle. This can't have a 7 on one end and a 9 on the other, because then it would also be an arrow, potentially. And it's not allowed to be that, because they fulfill exactly 1 or 2 of the constraints. That's weird. So it is German Whisper and Thermo. It's not allowed to be Arrow. This couldn't be Renban, obviously, with these numbers on. So I'm going to get rid of GT because we found it. It's this one. But that was the only really big constraint line. However, this box has already got a 243, and actually look at that 187. These digits, C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, they're from 5, 6, 9. So this line is pretty constrained already. Okay, here's the deal. It is not a Renban line, definitely, because it's got a 3 on it, and it can't possibly have a 2 or a 4 on it. So it couldn't fulfill the constraints for a Renban line. What is the other easy one to disprove? It is German Whisper. And I'm going to disprove that immediately by considering these two cells, which can't have a difference of 5 or more. So this is not a Renban, and it's not a German Whisper. It could be an Arrow cell, a Thermo cell, Arrow cell, Thermo, an Arrow line, a Thermo line, or both. But to be a Thermo, this would have to start at this end and go 3, 5, 6, 7 or 8, 8 or 9. Okay, it's possible, and it would be very constrained. To be an Arrow, if it went 3, 6, 9, yeah, that would work. You could have 3, 6, 9, 9 being in the circle, and then 1, 8. So the circle is pointing an arrow there to get 6 and 3, and an arrow here to get 1 and 8. Obviously, a 5-cell line can't be a single arrow. Well, this one can't, because you can't add up 4 different digits to make a single digit. So if it was an arrow, it would have to be both. It would have to be a branching arrow. It would have to branch from here, because otherwise you'd have a single cell that was meant to equal the single cell in the circle on the arrow. That's not possible. So if it's an arrow, this is... Oh, I didn't think about the Thermo that branched, but it's irrelevant because we've got to start here and go to here. This is the start if it's a Thermo. So if it's a Thermo, this goes 3, 5, 6, and then high digits down here. If it's an arrow, this is the center. So it's 3, 6, 9, and a 1, 8 pair. So those are possible. This is either an arrow or a Thermo. It's not both. And this digit is not 9. And this digit is either 9 or 6. It's not 5. This pair could be a 1, 8 pair if it's an arrow. Or digits from 7, 8, 9 if it's a Thermo. This is a complicated puzzle. 18, or maybe it's finding the right lines, or maybe it's working out where you can get arrows, because there are only 3 arrow lines in the puzzle. There are only 3 Thermo lines in the puzzle. There are 3 German Whisper lines in the puzzle. Hang on, what am I talking about? How can there be 4 Renban lines in the puzzle? There is a complete... Oh, no, that's true, because we eliminated one of the impossible things. There are. And there were originally 4 Thermo lines in the puzzle. Okay, there are 4 Renbans. Interesting. Okay, sorry, I just went off on a side shoot there. I'm irritated that I don't know what was happening here. Oh, well, this digit is not a 1 because of the white dot. That would lead this to be a 2 and this would be impossible. So if this goes 1, 8, that digit is an 8. If alternatively this was a Thermo, 3, 5, 6, 7 or 8 there, 8 or 9 here. This digit is always 8 or 9. This digit on the white dot is always from 9, 8, 7 therefore, and one of these two is an 8 as well. the moment is coming when I'm going to have to think about another line, which is a shame because I was enjoying confining myself to think myself, gone bipolar, to thinking about this line and this box and this line. Actually, let's just have a thought about that, the arrow version of this. 3, 6, 9, 1, 8. That would be 7, and this would be 5. This can't be 1. It's just Sudoku. This can't be a 1-8 line. The arrow is impossible. Hurrah. This is a thermo. This arrow is impossible because although I thought I'd come up with 3, 6, 9 as a way to start it, that would require this to be 1-8. That can't be a 1 by Sudoku, and that can't be a 1 because of the white dot. Right, this is a thermo, so that's a 5. That's a 6. This is 7 or 8. That's 8 or 9. This is 7, 8, 9 triple. That digit is a 1. I can draw my thermo bulb and line, and I can cross out just the ordinary thermo from the list of possible lines. Okay, good. Sorry, that was blindingly obvious. I just didn't spot it. Okay, well, I don't have to leave this box uncertain. Actually, look, there's a 9 there and a 9 there, so I know where the 9 in the central row goes. It goes in the middle of the grid. These two are a 3-4 pair to complete in the central row. And we've got 7, 8, 9 as a triple here. So 9 in row 4 is in one of those two cells. I don't know what I'm going to think about for the other lines. Which line is the most constrained? It's so hard. I mean, even I just started going, well, how can this... Okay, this can't be a Renban because there's no 7 on it. Can it be an arrow? That's really raw. Well, okay, there's... Can it be an arrow? Okay, that is interesting. I think there were a couple of ways that I saw at first, and they're ruled out. So for this to be not the arrow circle, it would have to contribute to an arrow total, which would need this to be a 1 and that to be a 9, which is impossible. So this would have to be the circle. And then these digits could be a 1, 2, 5 or a 1, 3, 4 triple. Actually, it's worse than that because they could go 4, 2, 2 or 6, 1, 1. No, well, not 6, 1, 1. 2, 3, 3. There are possibilities for this to be an arrow. Okay, I couldn't rule that out. Can it be a thermo? Easily. It could be a thermo starting here or a thermo starting here or here. So this line, what have we said? It can't be a Renban. It could be German whisper. Those two both low actually sits very well with that. So, okay, that was not a good line to start on. The trouble is none of these lines have more than 1 digit on already. Okay, let's start here because these are at least a bit constrained. Right, for this to be a whisper line, 4 would have to lead to a 9 here. And that would force these two cells to be 8 and 7. That would become a 7. So this digit couldn't be 9, 7 or 6. We would be alternating along this line, but that seems fine. 9 here and 8 here allows these to be any low digits almost. Actually, no. This one would have to touch an 8 and couldn't be 3 or 1, so it would be 2. So if this was a whisper line, it would go 4, 9, 2, 8, low, 1 or 3. But that does look possible. It doesn't look rulable out. Can it be a Renban line? I don't see why not. I can't keep 5 off it because 5 could sit there. In fact, 5, okay, if this is a Renban line, it has to have a 5 because it's 5 cells long. That 5 would sit here. Renban seems very possible. Thermo, again, there's a lot of flexibility about these thermo lines because even if it didn't start with a bulb at this end, it could have a bulb here. I think it could even have a bulb here, 2, 3, 4. I don't think this is the next line to look at because it's got so many blooming possibilities. Oh my goodness me, how on earth are we going to get anything narrowed down at all? Can this be a 9? I mean, this would be a very valid German whisper line. It would be easy to be a German whisper line. It couldn't be a Renban if this was a 9 or a... I don't think it could be an arrow anymore. Or a thermo. So it could own, if this is a 9, this is German whisper only, because that's all that's available. I mean, that's quite interesting. Oh, if this is a 9, that digit is a 9 by SUDOKU because of this 9. If that's a 9, that digit is a 9. One of these two has to be a 9. Well, that's getting interesting. If that's a 9 and that's a 9, we see now arrow is possible. You could have an arrow circle here with an arrow going up there to the 9 and then 2 digits here that add up to 9. And that would require this to be, well, it couldn't be 6, but it could be 5. Okay, if this is a 9, what else can this line not be? It can't be Renban because it's got 2 9s on it. It can't be German whispers because they're next to each other. And it can't be a thermo because you couldn't connect them. So this line is either arrow only with a 9 here and a 5 here, or it's German whisper only with a 9 here, because 9 has to be in one of those cells, and that means 9 has to be in one of these two. And if it's German whisper, this digit, annoyingly, it comes between 2 9s. It's anything from 1, 2, 3, 4. But one of those is a 9. And this line is either German whisper alone or arrow alone. Wow, I mean, I'm finding this puzzle very, very difficult. Seven and 8 do appear in these cells. Can this digit be 7 or 8? Oh, do we know that one of those is a 9? Yes, we do, because we've got a 9 in one of those, so all of these are ruled out. So that's not a 9. So this digit is definitely 7 or 8. That, I mean, I haven't even marked that yet. Now, where was I going? I was going to say, is the other digit from 7 or 8 that is marked as being in one of these cells, is it here? Could we rule that out? It's quite interesting, actually. I think it cannot be an arrow of that style because the 1 would have to be on the tip of an arrow. It would have to add to this digit, which would be 7 or 8 in the theory we're positing. That would require a circle up here to be, well, if you put a circle 8 here, that would have to be another 8. That's no good. If you put an extra 1 on an arrow, you'd need a 9 here. That's no good. I don't think there's any arrow that can work there with a 7 or 8 here, so it couldn't be an arrow. It couldn't be Renban, because 1 and 7 and 8 are too far distant. And I don't think it could be a thermo either, because 1 would be the bulb, and you would burn out the thermo before you got to, well, I mean, you can't have a 9 on the thermo, so 7 or 8 would kill it. However, therefore, if this digit is the other digit from 7, 8, this is a German whisper, and it's a German whisper alone. If this digit is 7 or 8, this is only German whisper, and then this one can't be only German whisper and would have to be arrow with a 9 here and a 5 there. So this is quite a constrained puzzle in some ways. I'm just gradually getting that, but how that applies, I mean, there's some line that is better than the ones I'm working on. And of course, what I was really trying to conclude is that this couldn't be a 7 or 8, and therefore that this was a 7-8 pair. And then all I know is that this is 2 or 6. Actually, that's a bit more limited. This already sees 1, 4, 3, 9, 5. So this is 2, 6, 7 or 8. And we've discovered that 7 or 8 are really very constrained into making this whisper only. Now, 2 is much less constrained. Thermos and arrows are all very possible. 6 though, what's 6 do? 1, 6, 7, 8. That would be a thermo. That would be valid. Six is not so constrained. Wow. Okay, I'm going to try this line now. I don't know. I mean, I literally don't know how to... Oh, okay, here's some Sudoku. 8, 7 there, 8, 7 there. These digits include 7 and 8, and at least one of them is on the line. Now, maybe I can conclude that they're not both on the line. Let's try, okay, let's think about the possibilities of Renban. With a 7 on the line would then need a 6 and a 5. The 6 would have to be here. The 5 by Sudoku again would be in one of these cells. For this to be a Renban, you've got 7, 6, 5 in one of those cells. You could have an 8. You couldn't have another 7. And then that would be 4 or 9. Okay, there's a chance for it to be Renban. For it to be arrow is harder. This can't be the end of the line. A 5-cell line can't... Oh, I don't know. This 5-cell line actually... This could be the end of the line. If that was a 1, 2, 3 and that was a 1... Oh my goodness. Oh, that's infuriating. Okay. This could be an arrow circle. I was going to say it can't be on the tip of an arrow because you'd add that to this, which would be at least a 2, and then that would be a 9. So that just wouldn't work. Yeah, that's really weird. If this line is an arrow, the 7 is the circle. Here's why that doesn't work. This would be a 1, 2, 3 triple. And you couldn't fit both 7 and 8 into that cell. This line is not an arrow in any direction at all. It can be a Renban just. Now, can it be a thermometer? Thermometers are easy. That is so depressing. Although, hang on, the line would have a 7 and or an 8 on it here. This would have to be the bulb of the thermometer, or maybe this one. Yeah, thermometer's easy. It could be a thermometer. Could it be a whisper then? I was putting that off. This digit would be high, this would be low, so this would be a 7-8 pair. This would be high and would have to be a 9. And these two would have to both be low. I mean, it seems fine. I think there's a lot of optionality for that line. Okay, I'm going to go to this line because it's 6 cells long. I hadn't realized there was only one line that is 6 cells long. Maybe that makes a difference. Okay, so it's not German whisper because it's got a 5 on. For an arrow, how would this be an arrow? The 5 couldn't be the circle because of this length of line. So the 5 would be in one of the arrow bits. Well, the arrow circle would have to be here. This would have to be 521 or 531 with an 8 or a 9 in the circle there. I think this is possible. The way I'm looking at it now is if this was 8 or 9 in the circle of an arrow, these 5 cells would have to add up to twice whatever that was. If that was an 8, these add up to 16, so these add up to 11. They are 1, 2, 3, 5, and in fact we would know the whole order. It would go 3, 5, 2, 1. But that is possible. Also, with a 9 there, there's more optionality. These would add up to 13, and, well, actually it would go 3, 1 there. And then these would add up to 9 without having a 1 or a 3 in. And actually, they couldn't have a 2 in either. Oh, and they couldn't be 4, 5, because neither could sit there. Goodness me. Okay, if this is an arrow line, it's 8 there. 3, 5, 2, 1. And that's very constraining. So there's exactly one way that this can be an arrow. It can't be a whisper. Thermo. What's up with thermo in this line? Where would the bulb be? If the bulb was here, you couldn't get through these two to get to that. If the bulb was here, that would be a 4. No, you couldn't do that either. You still need 2 digits below 5, and you can't use 1, 2, or 3 there. This could be the bulb if it was 4, and you'd have 6 or 7, 7 or 8. These would all be 5, 6, 7, and 8. If this was the bulb, it's not going to work because that can't be 6, so it's at least 7. That's at least 8, that's at least 9, and that's a clash. And that applies to any bulb. My goodness. Okay, the only way for this to be a thermo is with a 4 here in this cell. And then these digits are 5, 6, 7, and 8. I am literally going to sketch all this in because I'm not getting much else. Now, we said if it was an arrow, that's an 8. And we know that this goes 3, 5, 2, 1. So let's put those in. It's not a German whisper. We've done thermometer and arrow. Renban. Well, it would have to have a 5 in. It would also have to have a 6 and a 4 in this line. Oh, that's going to really spoil it if this line can be made up. Well, it clearly can't be any two of these options because it couldn't. Both arrow and thermo require this cell to be 5, and the Renban doesn't have both of them. So this is a single cell line, an amoeba, if you like. And we worked out, didn't we, that this is a single cell line as well. So they are 2 of these 3. That's quite interesting. The trouble is these candidates are not valid because Renban allows a lot more. Now there's no 9 on the line, so there must be a 3 on it as well. 3, 4 and 6 would be on it, but they've got a lot of positional optionality. Okay, I don't know. I'm going to give a little yellow line to this and this one because we've discovered that they are both single type lines. They're from this group. And that's an interesting finding. I don't care how slowly I'm going at this. This is a hard puzzle. There's nothing obvious going on here, so I'm taking my time. Now, the trouble is, I've given a little bit of thought to most of these lines now. Maybe not this one, but that's partly because it looks very open to interpretation. Even whisper works on this because the 6 would be surrounded by 2 1s. And then that would be 7 or 8. Actually, that would be quite interesting. If the 6, if it was a whisper, the 2 1s there would put a 1 here by Sudoku. In fact, let's just bear in mind that by Sudoku, 1 and 3 are in this group of cells. 2's in that group. That's quite interesting. 1 and 3 are definitely here somewhere. Now, if this is a whisper, that can't be low, so this would be a 1-3 pair. Now I want to know what I put in as these candidates. It doesn't matter, but I can't remember whether... Yeah, one arrow allowed that to be low, that's fine. In fact, if this is a whisper, that is a 2. And that's 1 or 3. And in fact, that's a 1-3 pair, and that's 2. This being a whisper is very constraining and would be really... Actually, look, it would put a 9 here, which would put a 9 here by Sudoku as well. In a place that's okay, I think, for Renban and whisper on its line. Or indeed thermo. Okay. Wow, I mean, something is ruled out somewhere. I haven't marked that I know there's a 5 in one of those 2 cells and a 9 in one of these 2. It's probably worth doing any Sudoku that I've got any kind of a grip on at all, and that might be it. Well, I know 7 and 8 are in these cells. So these are from 2, 5, 6. That, actually, is 2, 5 or 6, because it can't be 9 either. So if it's whisper, this line, that's a 2. But it's not that if it's Renban. If it... Arrow has been ruled out completely. This is not an arrow. This could be the whole problem, actually. Maybe the thing is that I'm just meant to find the 3 lines that can be arrows or something like that. Do you know what? I've never thought. I said that this was a 1 cell, a 1 type line, because it was either German whisper or arrow with a 9 there. I don't think I ever thought about it being arrow with a 9 here, with a circle I mean here. And that could go 3, 5, 1 or 3, 2, 4 or something. I think I've missed that possibility. I think it's still true that this is either arrow or German whisper and can't be both. So I don't think my yellow marking is wrong, but I do think that my pencil marking there is wrong. I think it's still true that one of these two is 9, because if that's a 9 by Sudoku, that's a 9. Okay, maybe that's all right. Okay, that is all right. That means I can restore those pencil marks because I'd forgotten that. Okay, maybe I did work that out. I'd forgotten that one of these had to be a 9. It's true. It's true. I'm okay. Okay, this is 2, 5, or 6. Now, for this to be a whisper, we're going 7, 2, 7 or 8, low, 9. And that is putting a 9 here. So that's interesting. For this to be a whisper also makes this a whisper. And that's then that's the remaining 2 of our whispers. Nothing else would be a whisper after that because we've already found the third one here. I don't know what it means. This is so hard. It's almost true to say that for either of these to be a whisper requires this digit to be a 9, and for this to be a whisper, which puts a 9 there, by Sudoku that makes this a 9. It's almost true to say this has to be a 9, but I don't think that quite works, and I haven't really ruled out that being a whisper or that one being a whisper and that mattering. This one can't be because that digit is not low. That sees 6, 7, 8 and 9. So this, okay, let's go back to this line. I thought about this briefly and I don't remember what I was thinking. It's not a whisper, we now know that. It's easy enough for it to be thermo or arrow. I think that's what I thought about it before. Renban, it cannot be because it doesn't have a 7. So this is not a whisper or a Renban. It's only available to be, we've had the thermo only line go. So if this isn't a whisper or a Renban, it's got to be an arrow. We've only got these 2 left available to it if it's not G or R. Yes. Okay, so this is an arrow in some. Now, if that 8 wasn't in a circle, it wouldn't work. Because it would be in a sum with a 1 there and a 9 here. That's not happening. So that 8 is the circle of the arrow. It's got to be. What colour am I using for arrow Sudoku? Orange. I don't know why. That is the circle of an arrow. This line might do something else as well as arrow, and the other thing that it is allowed to do is thermometer. But it might not. And these 3 digits do add up to 8 now. But we can have repeats. I remember that now. However, if we did have a repeat, it would be there and there, and the third part of it would form a trio with 7 and 8 up here, which would be interesting. It's not impossible, but it would be interesting. These 3 digits, if they were 1, 2, 5, they all see that digit, and that would become a 9. If they were 1, 3, 4, we'd have a 1, 3, 4 triple here. can it be a thermometer as well? That 8, remember there's a 9 in one of these cells, so there's no 9 on the line. So that 8 would have to be, the end of at least one branch. That's not very interesting. This line can easily be a thermometer. But at least we know it's got to be an arrow. I mean, I say that as though it's powerful medicine in some form, and it really, really isn't. But I'm literally clutching at any straw I can. What am I, 50 minutes in, and I barely know what's going on in the puzzle at all. There is a 1 by Sudoku in one of these cells. Not only that, that digit, which must appear in one of those two, is also in these 3 cells. So both a 1 and a 3 or a 4 appear here. Now this can't be 611. And I think now, can it be 422? That would be a 1. Actually it can, which is very annoying indeed. Can it be 233? That would be a 1 as well. And that would be a 4. We'd have 2, 3, 1, 4, 8, 7. This would be a 5, 6, 9, triple. This is so hard. Okay, that had to be an arrow. Maybe it's worth seeing what other... No, maybe arrow's easy to do. I was going to say, should we find out what other lines can be arrows, but it's not so much that this could be, it's that it had to be. So maybe we should rule out other possibilities first from other cells. So Renban? I mean, I'm kind of able to think about that all the time, and I'm struggling to rule it out from anything. This looks like it could be Renban. This looks like it could be. Even this one. It's going to either need a 5 or a 9 on, which would be here. And then these could be 7, 8, or if that was a 5, these could be 3, 4, or 4, 7. Oh, maybe I never got to the point of thinking, can this be an 8-7 pair? That might actually be worth considering. I can see a reason why that is worth considering. Okay, for this to be a 7-8 pair, it couldn't be a German whisper. That would break immediately. And it couldn't be a Renban because there'd be 2 7s on the line. I don't think it could be an arrow. I think we've ruled this out from being an arrow in total. And... well, 7-8 pair on a thermo would have to be 7 here, 8 here, 9 here, and a bulb here. That's really annoying because I wanted to force this digit to be 7 or 8. Okay, what I can at least do there is say that either this is a 9 or this is 7 or 8. Now, if that's a 9, this can't have a 9 on. If that's 7 or 8, this can't have a 7 or 8 on. And therefore, if it was Renban, this digit has to be a 5. Okay, I'm going to try and rule out this being an arrow. That's what I'm going to do next, he said, with no confidence at all. If this was an arrow, where's the bulb? If it was there, it would have to be a 9, which is impossible. If it was here, it would have to be a 9, which is impossible. If the bulb was here, those two would be the same, and if it was there, those two would be the same. Right, this is not an arrow. I'm getting close to saying it can't be a Renban, but I'm not there at all yet. Can it be? I mean, everything can be a thermo. Although, maybe not, because this digit can't be 6, 7, 8 or 9. I really only just noticed that clearly. So the thermo would be going this way. That would be 7, that would be 8. The only way this can be a thermo is if that's 7 and that's 8. German whisper would require both of those to be 1s and this to be 7 or 8. And this would be a 1. Okay, let's think about that. What would a 1 here make of this line? Couldn't be a German whisper, obviously. But actually it could still be Renban and arrow, and indeed both if it went 4, 1, 5, 2, 3. Thermo seems quite possible. It wouldn't be the same combo, but the 1 would be the bulb, obviously. This would probably be a 2. Something like a 4 here and a high digit here. Oh, goodness gracious, I don't know. Oh, okay. Okay, I'm going to try and ignore my aide-memoire. This digit I've just seen can't be 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. We know it's not 8, which is on the white dot. So this is quite a high one, 6, 7 or 9. So these have one high one. Well, we knew that anyway, and a 1 and a 3 amongst them. The high one is 6, 7 or 9. I don't know. Maybe I should have got more out of this when I was thinking about it. Maybe it can't be a Renban and I just didn't figure that out. If it's a Renban, I thought earlier I worked out it didn't have a 9 on, but now I'm not seeing why that couldn't be a 9. And these could be 4, 6, 7, 8. This is very, very hard. I mean, I'm an hour in, I still don't know what lines I should be looking at next. It's terrible, isn't it? Terrible. Okay, for this to be a 5, is that interesting? No, probably not. It's where 7 and 8 go here. That's the interesting bit here. Or is it? I don't know. Wow, I don't know. Okay, let's go back to a little thought I had earlier. If that's an 8, this has to be 7, that has to be 9. This isn't allowed to be 7 anymore because it would meet 3 criteria, so that would have to be 8. Does that do anything at all? I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Goodness gosh. Ones, if this was a whisper. What did we rule out? We ruled out arrow from this one completely. It just can't be. I wanted to rule out Renban and I totally failed. Couldn't even quite rule out whisper. Ones in those positions would be necessary. Now what I did find here was that if that was a whisper, this is also a whisper. What did that mean? That meant that these are the last two whispers and nothing else would be a whisper, but that just frees everything up. It doesn't cause constraints. This isn't a whisper. What about this one? For this to be a whisper, it would go 1, high, low, high, which couldn't be 6 or 9. So that would be 7 or 8. Oh, maybe it's just the combinations. Maybe it's just finding these combinations is hard. Oh goodness, I haven't thought about that for nearly 40 minutes. Right, an arrow and a Renban. There is one somewhere that is both an arrow and a Renban. This is the thing to think about. Maybe even the actual pair that matters. Could this be the actual pair that matters? There's an arrow and a Renban. Well, I worked out this could go 4, 1, 5, 2, 3. This obviously can't be both an arrow and a Renban. Yes, now what I said earlier was the arrow and a Renban combo has to have a 1 in. And I think that's still right. I didn't carry that thought through much. What I was thinking was if you had 2, 3, 4, 5, you can't get 2 combinations of 5 out of that. If you have 3, 4, 5, 6, you're always adding up to too much. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Even that doesn't work. I think an arrow and Renban combination, and there is one, has to have a 1 in and all low digits. Now, this line could be 1, 2, oh, this is a huge thing. Because we know it's not there. This couldn't have a 1 in and be a Renban, nor could that, nor could this, nor could that. This one's just too long to be both arrow and Renban. In fact, we worked out the arrow combinations and they had a 5 here. And if this one can be ruled out, then this one is the arrow Renban. Ah, okay. Let's rule this one out from being arrow Renban. It would be 1, 2, 3, 4. It just doesn't, you can't, that's a total of 10, which if you divided it into a circle and a single arrow would require a bulb of 5. That's not happening. If you divided it into 2 arrows, it doesn't divide by 3. So this is the arrow Renban, and I've finally found it. And I think, therefore, it has to have the 1 in, and it has to be 4, 1. It just has to be 4, 1, 5, 2, 3. There we go. The bulb is there. The arrow goes like that, and it's a Renban as well. And that is the arrow Renban, and it was easy. It wasn't easy, but it was very doable. And that's given me digits. Now, there's a 5 in one of these 2 cells and not there. This is now not a Renban because it can't have a 5 on or a 9. So we're down to arrow. Well, it must be either an arrow or a German whisper. And that's quite interesting. Oh, I mean, things are happening all over. This line has got completely handicapped. This can't be a 5. And I remember from my pencil marking that if this was either an arrow or a thermo, this had to be a 5. Let me just check that. If it was a thermo, this is 4. We can't have the bulb in this box because we can't extend up without using 6 there or 9 there. So the bulb would have to be in this box. I think it would have to be here and be a 4. But then these oh, okay, maybe that does still work. Although this digit can't be an 8 or a 9. So it would have to go 4, 6, 7 if this was a thermo. No, there aren't enough digits now to be higher than 4 in these 4 cells because 5 and 9 are gone. This is not a thermo. This bloomin' bulb is not a thermo or a German whisper or an arrow anymore. It's not an arrow anymore because these can't be low. The arrow circle was going to have to be here. And it was going to have to be an 8 with 1, 2 here. But you can't make 8 without using those digits. So this is not an arrow. This is now Renban only. Come on, man. Done it. Done it, done it, done it. This is Renban only. And, well, and what? It's got a 4 and a 6 on it somewhere. So the 4's in one of those cells. No, 4 could be here. Wrong. Oh, come on. This is a Renban. I thought I knew something that couldn't be on it, and I'm not sure I do. That is Renban only, so I get rid of Renban only from my list. Okay, now I'm going to consolidate the list a bit, move it into the same part of the puzzle. We've got A and G left to do, A and G. So my mnemonic bit is over here. Let's colour it yellow. These are the 5 lines left to find on the right hand side of the puzzle. This one is one of them, and I know it's an arrow, but it could be a thermo as well. Okay, Sudoku. Have I done all the Sudoku I've got entitled to? I've got a 5 in one of those cells. There's an 8 in one of those. This is high. This is not 5 or 9, not 1, 2, 3 or 4, not 8. That is 6 or 7. And this is a Renban. Okay, well, at least we got somewhere suddenly. Oh, goodness gracious. Two, 3, 5, 6, 1. This is 4, 7, 8 or 9. There is a 4 on the line. I keep wanting to take 4 out of here. Okay, let's go back to this thing, which is one of these 5 lines. Surely I ruled something out. Didn't I rule arrow out? I did rule arrow out from this one. So it's one of these 3. If it's not German whisper, it's not Renban. I know that now, because if that's a low digit and this is a 6, it would need a 5 on to connect them up. Right, and it's not arrow, so it is German whisper. They're the only 2 possibilities left, a German whisper and Renban. So it is German whisper. Those 2 are 1s, and it is only German whisper because now it can't be a Renban because it's got 2 of the same digit on. Oh, hang on. I've written the wrong thing here. Oh no. German whisper and Renban is the impossibility. German whisper and Renban is the impossibility. So what have we had that is possible? We've had German whisper and thermo. That was the combination. This is another combination, which was arrow and Renban. So it's arrow German whisper that I've missed out. Right. Sorry. I really, really, really hope this hasn't impacted the solve. I suspect it hasn't, but that's easy to say. So I got the wrong category here. I've written German Whisper Renban, but we're actually looking for arrow German Whisper. So I was looking for, that was arrow Renban. Yes, that's the only arrow that we've identified the whole line. This one we know is an arrow, but we don't know what else. Right. Okay, what I said is still true, because this still has to be German Whisper. It has to be one of those, because it's not Renban. So it's either German Whisper or German Whisper and arrow. Actually, that would work if this was an 8. But this is definitely German Whisper now, at least. And this digit is therefore 7 or 8. If it's an 8, this can also be arrow, which seems very likely suddenly. Now we've got these 1s going. There's a 1 in one of those cells. I'm not marking that. I don't want to mess with my aide memoire, which was rubbish because I got it wrong, but never mind, I didn't get it far wrong. Okay, this digit can't be a 1 anymore. So let's think about this arrow again. Or this, sorry, this line. I don't know if it's an arrow, although I have marked it in yellow. Can't remember why. This is either German Whisper only or arrow only. I remember that now. And the way it was arrow was if that's the 9 that has to appear in one of these cells, and this is 5 and that's 4. So 954, or if it's German Whisper only, then that's 9 and this is low. Okay, we now know there's no 1 on this line. On this Renban only line. These can't all be higher because we've only done 5, because we've only got 6, 7 and 8 that could go there. So one of them is lower than 5. One of them might be 4. At least one of them might be 4 or 3 or 2. I don't know what it means. Can 8 be on the line? I don't know what it means. Oh, this is hideous. This is hideous. So much thinking. So little result. Okay, this line again then. I still haven't ruled much out of that. Now, or what have we got left? Come on, we've still got to find an arrow that is a German Whisper as well. That could well be this. It probably is. An arrow that is a thermometer and a Renban and thermometer too. That's not hard to do. Arrow and thermometer, that's harder to do. That could be here, 1, 2, 3, 6, 1, 2, 4, 7. This can't be, if this was an arrow, it couldn't be a branching arrow because that digit would be the same as that, or that digit would be the same as that. So it would have to be a single cell with the arrow here. If this is an arrow, and we've got 3 arrows left to find, this is not an arrow. Got 3 arrows left to find. This is what I just haven't been focusing on. This can be an arrow if it goes 9954. That's the only way. This can be an arrow if it goes 8161. That's the only way. This is an arrow. We know that. This one could be an arrow if it has a bulb here. And this one can't be an arrow. We do know that. This is either German whisper only. This one can't be an arrow. So it's either German whisper only or Renban and thermo together. Now for this to be German whisper only, that has to be a 9. This has to be 7 or 8. This would be 2, and this digit would be 3. My goodness, it would be absolutely constrained. For this to be German whisper only, it would go 9, 3, 8, 2, 7. Now, what would be wrong with that? 9, 3, 8, 2, 7. If this went 9, 3, 8, that digit would be a 7, and that would be an 8, and this would be 4. These would be 2, 4, 5. That would be 5. That would be the only place 5 could go. In fact, okay, the alternative is Renban thermo. There's no 1 on the line. What else do I know? Wow. This can't be, well actually this can't be 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 or 8. This is 4 or 9. I did not know that. That's just Sudoku. If this is a 4, well, obviously this is not then a German whisper, so then it has to be Renban and thermo if that's a 4. But it would have to have a 5 and a 6 on it, and then either 8 or 3. And the bulb of the thermo would either be 3, this would be 5 or 6. And the bulb, if you've got 4 there and 5 or 6 here, the bulb would have to be a 3. But the other digit here would have to be 7 or 8, and that cannot work because you're either going 3, 7 or 8, 4, or 3, 7 or 8, 5 or 6. This is not the Renban thermo. I think this is German whisper. Hang on, that's no. What I've proved is this is not a 4. Because it would have to be Renban thermo and it can't be. That's what I've proved. So that's a 9. And now this is not 9. This is where 9 goes in column 7. And now this is German whisper only. That's all it can be. And that means that this line up here is German whisper and a bulb and what am I calling that? And arrow. So that's those two gone. And the remaining lines are arrow, arrow thermo, and that's one of those, and Renban thermo. Now this can't be, oh, it could be Renban thermo if it went 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, there may, no, 1 would have to be the bulb. That's how it would have to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, it's arrow with the arrow circle here. And this digit now can't be 19685. So it can't be 2 or 3 by what I've just been saying. This is 4 or 7. And this either goes 1, 2, 4, 7 arrow or 1, 2, 3, 4 Renban thermo. And this is always a 2. And now this is not a 2. And this line This can't be an arrow. This is now Renban Thermo. This is Renban Thermo. So I'm going to make it pink, and I'm going to put a bulb somewhere which, well, remember we've got to fit 7 and 8 in here. There's an 8 in one of those cells. It can't be there for the Thermo. It's got to be here. And then there's a 7 in one of these two cells. It could be here, and that would be the bulb. But this is a Renban as well, so these are a 5-6 pair now. And I don't know which one of them is the bulb, but they're a 5-6 pair, and that digit is the 7 in box 3. That's a 5-6 pair, and this is the Renban Thermo. So these two remaining cells are, one of them is arrow, and one is arrow and Thermo. So this is not Renban anymore. So this must go 1, 2, 4, 7. They're both arrows. There we go. That is an arrow with its bulb there, or its circle there. And that is a Thermo as well. So now this one must not be a Thermo. This one, this line here, has to not be a Thermo. This is arrow only. I'm getting rid of all the aide-memoire. This is arrow only. And we know that 8 is the count. These 3 mustn't obey Thermo. Okay, let's do Sudoku. That's a 5 in the box. Sorry, that's been obvious for ages. Didn't see it. 2, 3, and 4. The 4 goes here. 2 and 3 there. This is a whisper that can't be anything else. Okay, that's fine. 4, 7, 2, 3, 5, 1. This is a 6 by Sudoku. Then there's an 8, 9 pair here. These two are 2 and 3. This is a Renban, isn't it? 3, 2, 5, and these are now 4, 6, 7. It's just happened without my volition even. Okay, that line is obeyed. Right. Now, Sudoku, Sudoku, Sudoku. Let's not worry about this line too much as long as we make it an arrow. 7 and 8. That is a 7, 8 pair. That one is the 8. That's a 7. This has to be 5 according to my pencil marking. That's a naked 6, and this is 3 or 4. This digit is known in the row. That's a 5. 9, 5, 6, 8, 7. Okay, I'm going to pencil mark these. They're from 1, 2, 3, 4. That can't be 4, that can't be 1. It's making this add up to 8 and not be a Thermo in any way. That's weird, but it is true because this one is a Thermo. Right, come on, Mark. This column needs a 1 and a 7. Am I ever going to be able to do these? Yes, 4 and, oh, that 4 is looking at that cell. It's straightforward, isn't it? I wonder how long that's been available for. Right, now we add 2 of these digits, take them away from 8, and we get this. Could be 1, 2 with a 5, 1, 4 with a 3, 2, 4 with a 2. I don't think this can be a 1 because those can't add up to 7. This can't be a 2 either because the way that they would add up to 6 would be both 2's in the column. So this digit is 3 or 5. These, okay, let's just do Sudoku. I don't know, I can't work this out at all. Oh no, look, if that was a 3, this would be a 1 and a 4. And then you could put a bulb here, and this would be 1, 8, 1, 3, 4. So that can't be. No, this can't be a 3. I was going to say that can't be a 1, but then I couldn't do anything. This can't be a 3. This is a 5, and this is a 1, 2 pair. And look, there is no way to make this a Thermo, so it's fine. Man, this is an extraordinary puzzle in some ways. And it's taken me an extraordinary length of time, but I honestly think I'm getting there now. Now, I know what this is. If I look in the column, that's a 3. This is a 4, 6 pair. This is a 2, 3 pair that I know the order of. The 2 is going to sort out the corner for me. This is an 8-9 pair that I do not know the order of. Surely I don't have to do anything more with the funky lines. As long as that's a thermo line, we're okay, I think. But what else can I now do? This isn't a 7. 7, 2, 3, 1, 0, 5 is definitely here. That's just Sudoku, good. This digit is not a 6, 4, 8 or 9. In this row, 1, 3, 5, 2. I don't like all these pencil marks, but I don't know how else to go about this, so just bear with me. We've done all the holes, we've done all the lines, we've done everything like that. Here we are. Remember, this is not allowed to be a 9, because this would then be a valid arrow and have 3 characters. So that's now a 7-8 pair. This digit is a 9. That's 8 on the white dot. This is 6 at the bottom, 7 at the top. That's incredible. That's an incredible finish, actually. That 8 is looking at this cell. Then we do this one. And now it comes together. This has to be a 4, that's 6, that's 4, and a 9 in the corner, and I think this is the solution. Oh, it doesn't include a link. That is the solution. I will check. I think there was a solution provided, but I had to put the puzzle in our software. That's to let you guys play it. Have you played that? Have you enjoyed that? Have you finished it? It's very, very hard. Figuring out those lines, incredibly difficult. You really have to tick them off. I'm very glad I did the aide memoiring, even though I clearly made a mistake in notating it. I think the fixing of that mistake didn't change the logic. No doubt you'll tell me if it did somehow. What a puzzle, what a struggle, what a round of golf at the CTC Country Club. It's clearly the toughest conditions on tour. We will see you again soon. Thank you so much for following the channel, and thank you for sticking with me till the end of that round. That was tough work. Bye for now.